when we start moving and flowing, I've worked on putting that flow together, and it's designed in a certain way. So I'm pulling the curtain aside to tell you about intelligence behind it. So we involve the body intensely, but we warm up. So the intelligence piece is that we warm the body up. So I know that you guys know that I do the 7 movements of the spine, and then we go into table and all of that, and that's all with a purpose in mind, because as we go deeper, we don't want to get hurt. Um, so it's an ancient wisdom of gradual progression. And at the other end of the practice, we wind down and end with Shavasana. And, I remember being in studio and people just like walking out in the middle of Shavasana, but actually, Shavasana is the most important asana in yoga practice because it's important for the full integration of the practice. So that's intelligence. And the inner compassion that we're supposed to have is to be kind to yourself. So, in a way, being on Zoom and doing this is so much better for all of us in a way, because you're not judging yourself against anybody else. I know that I can't even see you guys in the small little boxes. So I'm happy afterwards if anybody wants to show me an asana, has a question about it. I'm happy to make your box bigger and look carefully if you need any help. But you're supposed to be kind to yourself. So number one thing about being kind is no pain, no more pain than you're currently feeling in anywhere. If you already have pain, don't let that go up at all. You should be taking your body to the edge of a challenge, but pain is not supposed to be felt in yoga. And we don't want anyone to get hurt. And I want you to be kind to yourself and compassionate to yourself in that don't let yourself go there. The other thing is don't judge yourself. If you fall out of a pose or there's an asana or a pose you cannot do, don't do it. All of our bodies are different. Some of us are meant to do certain things, some of us aren't, and it's all okay. So take your body where it can go, try something, but if you fall out of it, just laugh and come back and try it again, or don't try it and go into child. So have a heart, be compassionate for yourself, and that's my talk for today. So we're going to take our hands to our heart in what's called Anjali Mudra, which is mudra is the hand movements, and this is prayer position. What's called Anjali Mudra, and we're going to set an intention. And the intention is it is back to what I talked about in Sanskrit. The word is ahimsa, which means non-hurting, and satya, which means truth. So take your thumbs to your third eye, which is on your forehead. Set an intention. If that resonates with you and you want to be compassionate with yourself today, that's what today's practice will your intention for today's practice. Or if you have another one and you are thinking something or something's on your mind, just take a moment and set an intention for today. And then take your hands back to your heart, and we're going to start with a breath work. So today we're going to do the 4-part box breath, which we're going to start by breathing in through the nostrils, which in yoga we breathe in and out through the nostrils, which actually scientific evidence is backs up as the right way and better way for our bodies to breathe. But we're going to breathe in through the nostrils for the count of 4. We're going to hold it for the count of 4, breathe out for the count of 4, and hold it for the count of 4. And we're going to do that 4 times. So we're going to box breath, a breath, and we're going to box breath all 4 times. I will count with you, which means I can't do it. And then I might even hold up fingers at some point. So if you're watching, instead of saying it, so I can do it with you. So hands on your knees. You could be palms up, which is a mudra, again, a hand movement showing that you're open to what the universe is giving you. Or if you're comfortable and you want to put your hands on your knees, palms down, that's fine, whatever works for you. Breathe in through the nostril for the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale slowly. 4, 3, 2, 1. And hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in through the nostril. I'm going to use my fingers. Hold it. Exhale. and hold it. Breathe in through the nostrils. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the nostrils. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Breathe in through the nostrils. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through the nostrils. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, breathe normally. Check in with your breath. Just see how your breathing is just naturally. So that 4-part breath is actually a very relaxing breath. So we start out by relaxing our body, and the breath retention is something that you can practice at any time, during your day. And actually, if you're having trouble falling asleep at night, that's a beautiful breath to get you back to sleep. So we'll do the 7 movements of the spine. We're going to start by putting some length in our spine. First, just check your alignment. So your hips are either on a block or on the mat or on the floor, on a pillow, whatever it is, but feel where your sit bones are pushing into the floor. So in yoga, we root and we rise. Your hip bones are pushing into the floor. That's rooted. Your rib cage should be over your hips, shoulders away from the ears, over the rib cage, and your head centered. So if you're actually leaning forward the way we do when we look at a phone, you're adding weight to what's, to holding up your head. So you want to make sure that your head is centered over your shoulders. And as we inhale and bring our hands up to touch the sun, we're going to try to put about a ½ inch of space, extra space in between our vertebrae. So inhale, touch the sun. You want to gaze up without an extended back bend. You just want to sort of look up at your hands and see, you can breathe in and out. See if you can give yourself a little bit of extra space and make yourself a little bit taller. Exhale, let the hands come down. Put your hands in front of you, tented fingers, and let's try to keep a straight spine. Now, you might only get here if your spine is straight. You might be able to come down further. It doesn't really matter wherever you are, but you're in a forward bend. We're just warming up the body, and we'll be doing lots of forward bending today. So this is just the first one. Deep breath. Bring your hands back to center. And this time, put your hands behind you as we lean back at the hip crease. So you're not putting a bend in the back. You're actually just leaning back with a very straight spine into a little bit. This is a very gentle back bend. Your gaze is up at the ceiling. Come back to center. Your hand can be down at your side. Now, everybody's anatomy is different. So if you're having trouble reaching the mat, especially because you're seated on a block potentially, you can put a block on the mat next to you and hold on to the block if that's, how it's more comfortable for you. But either way, your right hand comes down to the floor, your left arm comes overhead as you lean to the right. Now, you might want to take that left hand, open up the rib cage, make sure your chest is wide, your heart is open. So you're not leaning forward here as you lean to the right. If you notice, we're compressing on the right side as we lean to the right, and it's our left side that's getting the stretch. So it's always the opposite. When you're doing a forward bend, it's your back that's getting the stretch. When you're doing a back bend, it's the front of your body. So let's just switch sides. The right arm comes over. You might want to, again, open up the rib cage. And comes to center. This time, take the right hand behind you, sort of smack in the middle behind you. Your left hand comes onto your right leg. If you can reach the knee, great. If not, it's fine on the thigh. Now, before you start to twist, because you know where I'm going, inhale, get tall. So add that little ½ inch to your vertebrae and then turn over your right shoulder and look over the right shoulder for a twist. Deep breath, and every time you inhale, see if you can get tall where you are as you look over and relax into, the twist. Cross your hands over, put the left hand behind you. Again, before you really go into a twist, inhale, get tall, and exhale, look over the left shoulder. And one more time, as you inhale, you try to get length, and exhaling, you should be relaxing into the twist. It's almost not the tension is in the inhale as you rise. It's the relaxing to look over. Okay, come center. So remove the block from under you. We're going to come into table, hands and knees. Your knees are about a fist and a half distance apart. Your hands, let me put my hair back so you can see, are under your shoulders, and we're in table. Fingers are spread wide. Let's just do a little bit of torso, hip circles or body circles around our wrists. We use the wrists a lot. When you think about down dog, we put a lot of pressure on the wrist. Go in the opposite direction. And come center. As you lift the tailbone to the sky, you sink the belly towards the floor. Your chin rises up so that your gaze is straight at the wall in front of you, and we're in cow. And that's an inhale. And you exhale and round the back, bring the belly button, the navel to the spine, and form a rainbow with your back and tuck your chin for cat. So inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. This is really warming up the spine. Intelligence in yoga. Come to neutral. Take your right leg, send it back, hip distance, flex the foot, and let your left hand come out. For bird dog, your gaze is at the floor, straight back, so your spine isn't, your neck is an extension of the spine and it's all straight. You're not straining anything with the spine. This is a balance pose, so you might even feel yourself shaking. You're putting pressure on the wrist and on the knee, but it is a balance pose. Let the hand come down, let the knee come down. Bring the other foot out, straight behind you. Flex the foot and let the right hand come straight out. Hand comes down, knee comes down. And let's go into puppy pose. So your tailbone stays lifted, actually lifted higher, and your hands come out, so you can see, in front of you. Like in a down dog, this is puppy though. Bring your forehead to the floor. Your feet, the tops of your feet are pressing into the floor. Your knees are down, your tailbone is up, and you're giving your upper back, your shoulders a big stretch this way. Raise your head, bring your hands back, separate your knees a little bit, and come into child's pose. So child's pose is you allow your belly and your chest to come in between the open knees, forehead to the floor, hands straight out behind you. You can also bring your hands behind you and over your heels and form like a child's pose this way, which is more like a fetal child pose. So this pose is one that you can come to at any point. If you get tired, if you start to shake, you're breathing hard, come into that pose. Feel free at any time. So sun salutations are also warm-ups. Come to the top of your mat. Let's stand up. And we're going to do a sun salutation A and then what I call a sun salutation B+ to warm up. So it's a B and I add some poses. Tadasana. So this is all just warming up still so that we can move. Spread your toes wide. Let's do that thing where we'll see if anybody can do it yet. Lift the toes up, engage the quads, let the knees rise. You can almost feel the isometric exercise in your legs when you raise your toes. Now place the big toe down and the pinky toe down. Can you keep those middle 3 toes up? Body-mind connection. You'll get there. Keep trying. Try in the shower whenever you think about it. Place all the toes down, spread them wide. You want to get grounded in your feet. So rooting and rising, the feet are pressing into the floor on all sides of the foot to make you even. Just check your alignment, that your hips are over your ankles, shoulders over the hips. Hands come down, palms out into Tadasana, and put some energy in those arms. Again, it's an isometric exercise. You're working out your arms even while they're just down by your side. Inhale, raise the arms up overhead. Take a look at the hands. Salute to the sun. Exhale, come down into a forward bend. Now, this is our first forward bend. It is okay to bend those knees. We're warming up the hamstrings, and I'm bent. You're allowed to bend your knees. Now, your back is straight. We're not rounding yet, but you can actually, if you can, press your belly and your chest onto your thighs. It's great. Let your head be relaxed. Take a deep breath here. This is just our first forward bend, and forward bending really works the hamstrings. As we go, we're going to be doing a lot of forward bends. You'll see if you can straighten the legs just a little bit more. And actually, honestly, they should never be completely straight. It protects the hamstrings if you have a micro bend in the legs. On an inhale, raise your hands up your legs, flat back. Take the shoulders back so that your back is flat and someone can serve tea on it. Your gaze is at the floor, so it's a straight line. And exhale, come back down. Take the feet out on the same exhale into a push-up position and come down. You can either come down on your knees or push up, chaturanga. Inhale, and we're going to rise just a little bit into a cobra. So the elbows are against the rib cage and your gaze is up sort of where the wall meets the floor. It would be the kind of pose, when I'm not there yet, where you could allow your hands to let go. So it's just a very slight back bend. Curl the toes under, tailbone to the sky for down dog. Again, keep the knees at least micro bent, if not more. Hands are straight out, shoulders are away from the ears. Keep your chest wide. You can pedal the feet so that your heels come down, come up, and walk your feet to your hands. Now you're in another forward bend, and perhaps you can have those knees just be a little bit straighter than they were a minute ago. Inhale, come up halfway again. Shoulders back, flat back. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, reverse swan dive, touch the sky. And exhale, hands at your side. Okay, sun salutation B with some extra plus in there. So inhale, hands come out. Keep them wide like a V as you sink your hips down into a chair position. Now, imaginary block between above, like in your thighs. You don't want your knees to come way over your feet. Be able to see your toes. We're rooting and rising. So the hips are sinking, the feet are pressing into the floor, and your torso is rising. Exhale, bend and come into a forward bend. Inhale, hands slide up, flat back. Exhale, hands on either side of the feet, again into plank and push up. Uncurl the toes. Inhale, come up, this time into a cobra. So your elbows are slightly bent. You're lifting, this is a back bend. You're lifting, you're looking up towards the ceiling. You don't want to strain the neck back, but the gaze would be like where the ceiling and the wall meet. Curl the toes under, raise the hip, tailbone to the sky for down dog. Pedal the feet, raise the right leg to the sky. Bring it through inside the right wrist. Before you come up, turn the back foot so it's at a 45-degree angle. If you have trouble balancing and you want some more stability, the wider your feet are apart. So if you want to take your back foot maybe 6 inches towards its own side, that might give you more stability. And come up into warrior one. Here's where the plus is coming in. Before we go back and do another chaturanga, take your arms, clasp them behind you. Shoulders down. Bend at the hip crease into humble warrior, which means you come into the front inside of that right leg and you raise the clasp. Unclasp the hands, bring them back up and slide up as you come back into warrior one. And let's take the arms into goddess, part of the plus also. So as your hands come into goddess, you can actually feel your shoulders integrate down your back. So it's like someone took a karate chop in the middle of your back and your shoulder blades come together. Hands down on either side of the front foot, come into Plank, push up, uncurl the feet, cobra, curl the feet under, bring your tailbone to the sky for down dog. We have to do the other side. Lift the left leg into the air and bring it through. You might have to help it. Take the back foot, bring it at a 45-degree angle, and come up, hands up for warrior one. Again, we're going to do a little variation here. Take your hands, clasp them behind you, shoulders down away from the ears. Front leg is bent, and bend at the hip crease into humble warrior to the inside of the front leg. Clasp is up. Deep breath. Unclasp the hands, bring them back up, and bring them down into goddess pose so the shoulders come down the back. Both hands on either side of the front foot, push up, plank, sorry, push up. Uncurl the toes. Now you can lift up into up dog. So up dog, you're on 4 parts. If you can stay in baby cobra, your choice. But if you're ready, you're on 4 points, the front of the feet and the 2 hands. Everything else is lifted. Cobra is fine. Curl the toes under, tailbone to the sky for down dog, and we'll rest here for 3 breaths. Walk your feet to your hands. Forward bend. Again, you can keep your knees micro bent. Inhale, flat back, shoulders back. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, you rise and we come back to chair. So your hands are in a V. Your tailbone is rooting down as if there's a chair. And you're rising. And come straight up. Exhale, let the hands come down. So now you're all warmed up and it's time to flow. I think I'll come to the side. I never know which side works, but we're going to come to Tadasana. So hands are by your side. Check your alignment, shoulders away from the ears. Actually, I'll come to the front so I can see you if I can. Inhale, touch the sun. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, come into push-up, plank, push-up, cobra. Raised, curl the toes under, come into down dog. Lift the right leg into the air. Now bend the right leg and take it towards the left side. As you stack the hips one on top of the other, you're opening up the hip here. Bring it back to center and bring it through the way we did before. Your feet are though pointed in the same direction. We're in high lunge. So both toes are pointed in the same direction and our arms are in goddess arms for high lunge. If you have a blanket nearby and you'd like to pad the knee, we're about to take the left knee down to the floor. You might want to drag that blanket so that you can place the knee on it. So bring the knee down and we're in low lunge. If you have 2 blocks, you might want to have them on either side of that front foot for your hands on the tall side as we do a runner stretch. So we're going to first lean forward into low lunge and you're stretching your hip. Here, let me see if I can turn this way. You're stretching out the hip. And then your blocks travel with you. As your your foot flexes and you lean forward into a runner stretch. So we inhale and we come into a low lunge and exhale, runner stretch. Again, inhale and exhale. And now as we come forward into low lunge, you might want to take those blocks, put them both on the inside of the leg and lay them down as we come into lizard. So you might want to put your forearms onto the blocks and they could maybe even further out than your foot because you want to have a long torso and a long back. You don't want to scrunch your spine. The foot can go out to its own side and lean on the pinky toe side just to see what that feels like on the hip. You're stretching the hip, and then bring it back and let it hug your shoulder for lizard. And take a couple of breaths here. You can remove the blocks, bring them on both sides, hands onto the floor, curl the back toes under, lift the back leg, come back up into high lunge. Oops. Now, we are in a position where our hips are parallel to each other, and we're about to incorporate our balance pose so that this is our balance pose part of the session today. We're going to come into warrior three. You might want to move to a wall unless you can imagine the wall. So you can put your hands in prayer position, hop your back foot, ground that front foot so it's really steady, toes are spread wide, your hips stay parallel, back foot is flexed. Imagine there's a wall behind you as you come up into a balance pose, warrior three. If you want to bring that back foot to a wall, sometimes that helps. And hold that. You're balancing on one leg. Gently bring it down whenever you're ready. If you can hold it, great. And as you bring it down, you're going to bring your back foot so that the foot is facing the side. It's perpendicular to the front foot for warrior two. So if your feet came together, it would be the arch of the back foot comes into the heel of the front foot. Front leg is bent. Hands are out. Your gaze is over your front fingers. Your front arm is facing the future, back arm in the past. You're smack in the middle. We're going to hold that for a couple of breaths. Put some strength in the arms. Again, it's an isometric exercise. Let the left hand slide down the leg as your right hand comes over for peaceful warrior. Exhale and let your forearm come onto the front leg as your left arm comes overhead for side angle pose. Inhale, come back to peaceful. Exhale, come back to side angle. One more time, inhale, come to peaceful. And exhale, to side angle. Come back to warrior two. Straighten the front leg as if someone is taking your fingertips and pulling you towards the front. So your torso leans to the front, tip down into triangle pose. Now you might want to have a block here. Your hand is on the inside of the leg, which is the front of the leg facing front, palm facing front. Your left arm, when I'm twisted, it's hard to know. Left arm is straight up. So your arms are in a straight line. So if you have a block, have it handy. You can actually be holding a block in triangle. So now we're going to go back into another balancing pose. And this one is very similar to warrior three, only our hips are open. So all you're going to do is take that block, bring it up with you. You can hop it. As you lift the back leg, you keep that, and it's okay to come down. You keep that triangle pose with the arms straight overhead and your hips are stacked one on top of each other, unlike warrior three where they were parallel to the floor. And this is half moon. And gently hop yourself down. And this time toes are going to be facing the side of the mat for wide angle pose. So you bend at the hip crease, and we're going to be doing a forward bend. So touch the floor, go to the left, move those hands to the left, allow your right side to get a stretch right here. And then move those hands to the right. And as you come to the right, turn the right toes so they face the front of the mat. Turn the left toes so they face the front of the mat. and bring the left toes to meet the right. You're in a forward bend. And gently roll up. And Tadasana, mountain pose. Guess what? We have to do the other side. Remember, you can come into child's pose at any time. So we're in Tadasana. Deep breath. Hands overhead on the inhale. Exhale, come into forward bend. Inhale, come halfway, put the shoulders back, and exhale, come back down on either side of the front feet. Come into push to plank and push up. Inhale, come into cobra. Exhale, curl the toes under and come into down dog. Oops, just lost one of these. Okay. We're on our left leg now. So we're going to take the left leg and lift it up into the sky, bend the knee, and bring the hip so that it's stacked on top of the right hip. So you're opening up that hip and giving it a nice stretch there. Bring it back to center and bring it through. It might take a hop and a skip on the inside of the left hand. Your back toes are facing the front of the room, so are your front toes, and would come up into high lunge. Bring your hands into goddess, feel those shoulders come down the back. If you have a blanket handy, we're gonna place the knee down. You might wanna pad the knee. Bring your hands to the front, on either side of the front leg, and let your knee come down. Get your blocks ready. Either side of the front leg on the tall side, as we lean forward for a lunge, and we lean back and straighten that front leg and flex the toes for runner stretch. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And bring the blocks onto their lower side on the inside of that front leg so we can get into lizard. And again, they might have to go longer than where the foot is because we don't want to compress the spine. Your forearms come down on the blocks, we're in lizard. You can let that knee slide out onto the pinky and turn the foot to the pinky toe side of the foot to give the hip a little stretch, and then bring it back and let it hug the shoulders. Deep breath. Come up onto the blocks and you can remove them. Bring your hands to the floor, curl the back toes under, lift the knee, and your feet are facing in the same direction. You may want to hop them a little closer into high lunge again. Have a block handy, just in case you need it, but your hands come into prayer as we do warrior 3 on this leg. So ground that left leg as your right leg comes up and goes back into warrior 3. It helps too. If you want a wall behind you, that's fine. It helps too if you push the palms into each other. So you're balancing, which is so important for function and mobility. Gently let that leg come down, back, and you could come into warrior 2. So your legs are perpendicular. The heel of the front foot would go into the arch of the back. Your arms are out to either the front and the back of you. Your torso is smack in the middle for warrior 2. Deep breath. Inhale, let the right hand come down the right leg as your left arm comes over for peaceful warrior. And exhale, come into side angle pose where the forearm is on the front thigh. Inhale, peaceful. Exhale, side angle. One more time, inhale, peaceful. Exhale, side angle. Wheelhouse the back arm into warrior 2 again. Look over the front fingers. Straighten the front leg as if someone's taking you and pulling you forward. Tip over into triangle. If you need a block, here's where you use it, but have one handy because if you remember, we're about to go into half moon. I'm going to turn around so you can see. Where were we? Triangle. Take a couple of breaths here. Make sure in triangle, you want to be as if you're leaning against a wall or you're between 2 panes of glass. So your body's sort of in a straight line. Okay, have that block handy on its highest level. And you're gonna hop that back leg. And this time, you're going to stack the hips. So ground that front leg. You're gonna stack the hips on top of each other and come into half moon. Oops. And come down gently, gentler than I just did, and turn both feet so that they're facing the side of the mat. Toes are straight ahead and you're in wide angle pose. This time, toe heel your feet together so that there's probably a little bit more than hip distance apart. Your heels are in, your toes are out, hands at heart center into prayer as you come down into malasana or yogi squat. Another pose that's really important for mobility and functionality in life. Use your elbows to push your knees apart. Keep your torso upright. It's called malasana. Now, if crow is in your practice and you'd like to try it, here's where you would do it. You put your hands down in between your legs onto the in front of you. Plant them, ground them, fingers very wide. Now, it really helps if you can put your feet up on a block behind you. It gives you a little bit of sort of, I don't know, lift, because your knees are going to be on top of your shoulders as you lean forward and lift your feet up into crow. It's one of those poses that we have fear because you have to balance and your center of gravity has to go forward. It's really good if you have a blanket so that if you land on your head. Anyway, we're back in yogi squat and we're gonna take our hands and actually we're gonna come into a seated position. So very gently, let your hips come into the floor. Feet out in front of you. Torso upright, shoulders down. See if you can integrate the shoulders and squeeze them behind your back the way that we did in Goddess. See if you can get those shoulders to feel that way. And we're going to do a forward bend. So we're going to bend at the hip crease and we're going to hold on to our feet if you can, if not your ankles. If you have a strap, this is a great place to use it around the balls of the feet to bring your torso down in a straight line into forward bend. And here, once you're there with a straight back, you can allow yourself to rest and relax and allow your back to round and come into forward bend. So very interesting about forward bending. Forward bending in yoga is associated with going internal. You wouldn't take someone in a forward bend that needed to be like public speaking. That would be a back bend and an open chest. This is really about sort of getting inward. And today, since our intention is inner compassion and intelligence, we're doing forward bends. Release the strap if you have one, come back up. Bring the soles of your feet together into bound angle pose. You can take your clasp of your hands and hold your feet and use your elbows to push the calves down. I guess you want to keep your torso pretty upright, so I don't know if you can do that at the same time, but we're pushing our knees down and trying to get a little bit of a hip stretch here. Allow your legs to come into a wide angle seated pose. Take your right hand and hold your right foot. So you're leaning to the right, but you're coming to the side. So actually you can take that arm if you'd like. You can either hold the right foot or you can bring the elbow in to the inside of the foot. Make sure, take your left hand and open up your rib cage here. So your chest is wide, heart is open as your left arm comes up overhead for a stretch. Deep breaths. Come back to center. And you could do the same thing on the other side. So you can either hold the leg, hold the foot, or take the inside of the arm and bend it palm up to the right against the inside of the leg And you're going to take the torso, so make sure you take the right hand and move the rib cage so it's up, so you're not leaning forward, but you're sort of leaning over the leg with a good stretch, your arm overhead. Come center. Bring your legs together as you gently roll down on the mat for a reclined position. Take your knees into the chest and hug your knees. And you can actually go side to side and give your back a little bit of a massage here. Send your left foot all the way down the mat and your right foot comes up into the air. First, twirl that ankle around just a little bit, one way and then the other way. And we want to take that right leg, put your arms out into a T. You're going to take the right leg all the way to the left side. So it twists over as you keep your right shoulder down on the ground. Inhale and bring it back up to center and let it come to its own side if it can, while you try to keep your left shoulder and your left hip on the ground. So it may not come all the way down. And bring it back up. Hug it to the chest. Send it down. And let's bring the left leg up. So hug it to the chest. Let it come up and give yourself some ankle twirls. One direction and then the other. Hands out in a T and let it come over to the right side as you remember to keep your left shoulder down on the ground. Bring it straight up and bring it over to its own side as you keep the hip down. A little harder. Bring it back to center, hug it to the chest again and send it down. Bring the soles of your feet up to near your hips. Hands are down on your side and lift up your hips, hugging your knees together and clasp your hands so that the shoulders again integrate down the back, which is a theme here, as you lift the hips and have an imaginary block, or you can even put a block between your thighs or press your knees together and your thighs together here isometrically for bridge. Now, if anyone has wheel pose in their practice, you can place your hands, fingers facing the body on either side above your shoulders and come up into wheel. Gently come down. And release. Legs out. So because Shavasana is one of the most important asanas in yoga, we're going to spend some time there. But before we do, I'd love it if you have a wall near you to take either a bolster, a blanket, a block, come to a wall. I think you can see me over here. Slide your hip, get your hip, so your left hip, let's say, up against the wall, and then come down and let your legs come up. If you would like to take something under to release some pressure, you might want to put a block or a blanket under the hips so that they're raised a little bit, and let your legs come up the wall. I think you can see me. This is so good for every part of your body. This is an inversion. You don't have to do a headstand. This is your heart above your head, your legs above your body. Now, if you like, you can stay here. And I would say stay here for a while. Or let me set you up in a couple of different ways. So if you like that, stay there. If you want to come into Shavasana, where you can drape yourself, try this. We have a few minutes. If you have two blocks, take one block so that it's on the medium side level. It goes low, medium, high. Medium side. And place it so that it would be on your spine. Take the other block and place it horizontally so it forms a T, a little further up for your head. You're going to drape yourself over it so that it almost hits mid-back, and your head comes, and then allow your shoulders to sort of just drape over it, palms up as you relax into that position. If you'd like to raise your hips here, you could put a blanket or a bolster under your hips. You can put a bolster, if you have a bolster, it's great to put it under your knees here. So this could be your Shavasana position. And certainly try it. Or, of course, traditional Shavasana, where you could just allow yourself to come to the floor and feel the parts of your body that are hitting the floor or on the floor. Allow your legs to relax. So wherever you are for your Shavasana, it doesn't have to be reclined laying down. Get comfortable and scan the body. I won't walk you through the whole body because you're all in different positions maybe, but start with your feet and work your way to the crown of your head and be a tension hunter. Look for tension in the body and see if there's some place you could relax. Take a few deep breaths. We'll be here for a few minutes. And remember, this is what ancient yogis said was the most important asana of all, that it allows your body to integrate everything that we just did. So if you'd like to stay here, it's a great place to stay. Or you can start by wiggling your fingers and your toes, taking your arms overhead and giving yourself a really big full body stretch no matter where you are. Taking your left hand and using it, turning to the right, taking your left hand and using it to prop yourself up into a seated position. As we meet back in Anjali Mudra, prayer hands, I'd like to leave you with a couple of thoughts. So first, my yoga teacher who trained me used to always end the class by saying, "You are beauty, you are truth, you are love, you are light." So I share that with you. And namaste, which means the light in me sees the light in you. And I want to just say how grateful and honored I am that you chose to spend your morning with me. So namaste. Thank you, with intelligence and compassion. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you, Anita.